Everyone knows about this iconic and influential game, Five Nights at Freddy's, the horror game where you stare at a camera feed of 3 animatronics and make sure they don't get in your office and game end you. Very silly game. The way that this game series had a chokehold on me for such a long time is insane. I was a fan of the series for years and still somewhat am to this day. In the 11 years of the game's lifespan, there has been over 30 games. 9 of which being spin-offs and 4 troll games. Genuinely insane. Scott Cawthon is the GOAT. Of course, there's been books, graphic novels, toy lines, crossovers in media and video games, more recently with Springtrap and Purple Guy being put in the game Dead by Daylight. There's been a feature film that came out in 2023, which was alright. Another feature film being in development and being released this year sometime in December, and of course hundreds and thousands of fan games that have been made based off of the series. Oh my god, that's so many! Since the recent game Secret of fucking Mimic came out, I decided to make a video celebrating it. And what better way to kick it off than a video on Five Nights at Freddy's fan games that were taking over the internet and even the entire FNAF game series back in 2015 and beyond. Remember the time right after FNAF 2 we were all waiting for the next FNAF game to drop since we all kinda knew that there was going to be a third one. But in a couple of months of waiting, we all had to resort to playing these interesting fan games like Five Nights at Wario's. This was genuinely one of the first FNAF fan games that I ever played, and quite honestly one of the best post-FNAF fan games ever made. We got the whole Mario crew come in the game menu. That's scary! So I first came upon this game around the time it started to blow up and all of the epic FNAF gamers were playing it. Of course, the game was uploaded to GameJolt over a damn decade ago. Over 10 years! Man, I'm getting old. The game essentially is just you in an office setting at Wario's, which is a fast food factory out of all things, and that you gotta keep the Mario characters from getting in your office and game ending. So in this game, like in the FNAF games, you have to use a monitor to look through the security cameras to make sure they don't get close to you. And just like FNAF 1, you have to close the doors if you see them out of your room. That's pretty much it for the gameplay. It's very low quality and looks like a 4-year-old made it in 10 minutes, but you know, that's what made it so special and unique. I don't know if it's nostalgia that's getting to me right now, but so many of these games had the same low quality, rushed, low budget look to them with cheap drawings of the backgrounds and characters that were most likely done in Windows Paint, or in Wario's case, just using stock images of locations and PNG images of Mario characters with whitened out eyes. This is the pinnacle of gaming in 2015. Why aren't games made like this anymore? Please, let's bring back FNAF fan games. Please, let's bring back games like this. I missed it. Please. Of course, you can't just have one Five Nights at Wario's game. You need to have 4 of them, and 2 remakes. Now, it's crazy to see that these games over time got better. Like, they were somewhat more polished and functional, but still kept the aesthetic and style of it all throughout. The second game is set in a factory called WarioWare. What do they make? I don't know. They make epic Wario funny fart. Haha. That didn't make it. Wario 3 is in a mansion, kind of like Luigi's mansion. Ooh. And the 4th is in a it's in a TV. What? Now, while looking into Five Nights at Wario's on GameJolt, I found another FNAF fan game that I played a lot when I was younger called Five Nights at the Krusty Krab. This was another goated game that a lot of YouTubers played as well during this time, and this game has a lot more effort put into it as well, as it was all made in a different game engine than Click Team, I think. Like Five Nights at Wario's, this game had multiple sequels, and these ones progressively got better over time, and you can see it, mostly in the background and character models. But one thing that never really changed with these games were the extremely low frame rate jump scares that would play throughout. They were so funny every time that they would pop up and how choppy it always was. But what's weird is that the first game's jump scares were like that, and the second game had pretty smooth jump scares overall. And then the third one was back to the first. Probably, it might have actually been worse than the first game's jump scares. I don't get it. I don't get it. Remember Five Nights at Thomas? Five Nights at Ronald's? Five Nights at Pinky's? I just remember that the My Little Pony community and bronies were like really obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's during this time. Why? I don't know, but they were. But like, there are so many fan games like this that are based off of cartoon characters, it's crazy. Go on YouTube right now and search up a cartoon or a kid's character for the replacement of Freddy, and I guarantee you that there's a Five Nights at Freddy's fan game out there of it. Five Nights at Sonic's. I mean, yeah, it's a video game character, but hey, there's one of Sonic. Five Nights at Pomni's. The Digital Circus! Alright, I'm tired. Let's talk about some heat. Let's talk about some goated games like Five Nights at Annoying Orange. What even is this? Bro, this game has a full-on OST. It's plastered right on top of the Game Jolt page of the game. Mini game boss music? Is the boss Mini 2 like Midget Apple? The game's not even out yet. Anyways, one of the fan games that you definitely remember and is one of the most popular fan games out there was One Night at Flumpty's. This game was absolutely goated. Was played by literally every FNAF YouTuber that I could think of during this time, and most of you watching this video probably heard or played this game before. Everyone loved this game, and the jump scares and the character designs, absolutely creepy and horrifying. This game gave me the diarrhea. I sure hope the game's creator didn't end up being a horrible person. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about any of the drama in this video. But hey, look at this epic egg in this game. Look at this little fella. Look at this little egg fella. Aw, what a cutie pie. Oh my god! We got birthday boy Blam. Aw, we got the cute little beaver. Now that's a cool dude. He's so cool with the newspaper too. The clown character. And of course, the red man. Ooh. Bro, this game is scary. Honestly, this game is pretty well made for what it is. Has a few pretty cool references to real life things on the desk. The gameplay mechanics are pretty much the same as FNAF 1, but just the overall art style of this game is so eye-catching and appealing, and hasn't really been done before during this time. And just the characters in the game are just really fun and unique, even if they are trying to game end you. Of course, there were a few sequels to the series, One Night at Flumpty's 2 and 3. Personally, my favorite was the second game, which takes inspiration from the FNAF 2 gameplay style. FNAF 2 being the best FNAF game out there. I genuinely don't care what you think. Fight me. Fight me in the comments about it. FNAF 2's goated. Also FNAF 3. Also fight me in the comments about it. FNAF 3's goated. I don't care what anyone else says. FNAF 3's awesome. Anyways, instead of the mask that you have to put on in FNAF 2, you have to flick the light switch on and off, which... oh man, that's scary. That's spooky. I don't like the darkness. There is so much going on in the second game. You gotta focus on the lights, you gotta focus on the vents, the hallways, the cameras, your power consumption, all while the returning characters are after you with new characters as well, such as the fast, freaky ass owl, the big, ugly ass red, oh my god, the big, ugly ass eye monster thing, Luigi.
Oh wow, that was sexy!
One Night at Flumpty's 3 was also a pretty good game. Quite scary and very stressful and haunting to play. But I don't know, this one just didn't get me as much. There's pretty cool gameplay mechanics in this one where you constantly have to keep adding heat into the environment so you don't freeze up and get jump scared! Ah! There are multiple versions of Flumpty that are pretty scary and haunting after you complete the night. But guess what? Flumpty reverses the time back to 12 AM, and now you have to do the night all over again with him in charge. Oh no, you're in big trouble now, that's for sure. So remember the Return to Freddy series of games? They were, oh god, well they were something alright. Now these games seem to be one of the more hated and despised fan games in the FNAF community. Quite a few people have made videos about this series, really bashing it, and acting like this is the spawn of Satan. I mean, the games were pretty bad and looked horrible, but I think most of the hate for this game comes from the hatred towards the creator of the game. Cause guess what, this person is also not a good person too. Too much drama to get into for this video, so I'm just gonna talk about the game. So imagine if Chris Chan was a Five Nights at Freddy's fan and made fan games instead of comic book character OCs. Well, you would have the Return to Freddy's. Think of it as Sonichu OCs mixed with Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, oh my god, that's a great way of putting it. So what's funny about this fan game series is that the lore in this game just doesn't make any sense at all, especially the mini games in it. They threw in the basic concept and lore of the original FNAF games, but added in their own OCs, most of which being self-inserts of the game's creator, which, alright, kinda cringe, but alright. And then of course the constant stealing of video game assets from the original FNAF game, as well as stealing characters from other FNAF fan games as well, especially stealing from one game that I'll be talking about later on in this video. Not gonna lie, the only version of these games that I played back in the day was Return to Freddy's 2, which is pretty much just a FNAF 2 ripoff with, oh my god, these ugly looking models of the animatronics. Like seriously, to this day, these character models are just still so hard to look at. Holy, they're ugly. The first Return to Freddy's game was straight up not original at all, as 90% of the game's assets were completely and illegally ripped from the first FNAF game. So there's really not a lot to talk about for the first game. But the second one does have a bit of originality to it, at least. Mainly the 3D models and assets were all made by the game's creator this time. Like mentioned previously, they're very ugly, and they have this like weird texture to it. But give credit where credit is due. Now in the second game, there is still a lot of assets ripped again from the second FNAF game this time, but a lot less than the first game. There really isn't a lot to talk about for these games. All I know is that there's been like 5 that were made, but the 5th one was just never made, I guess. But man, these jump scares in these games are really just not good at all and pretty comedic when they happen. Not scary, didn't jump scare, plus you're a robot. Also in the second one, there are stolen characters from another FNAF fan game in these games too. Mostly being the characters of Sugar and Kitty Thaz Cat. Dear God. And are characters that are straight up ripped from the fan game known as Five Nights at Candy's. There's a lot of drama in the FNAF fan game community. My god, you guys are crazy. Anyways, for the other games in the series, there is once again not a lot to talk about. More lore that just doesn't make any sense. Unoriginal gameplay mechanics and characters. I mean, there's a Springtrap ripoff character in the game too called Lockjaw. Just the character model is just so ugly. I don't know, let's just move on and talk about Five Nights at Candy's already. This was one of, if not the most popular FNAF fan game that was made during this time, as everyone in the community has at least played the game or at least heard of it. The GOAT of the FNAF fan game community, the massive legend Emil Matko. I probably butchered that name, I apologize, is the creator of the series of games. And honestly, it's one of the only FNAF fan games that I was genuinely a fan of during this time. The first Five Nights at Candy's game came out in 2015 and was universally loved by FNAF fans. You're a security guard who's working at Candy's Burgers and Fries, working the night shift, you get the point. The game was made from the ground up, with everything in the game being mostly original, from the story to the animatronic characters to the gameplay, and also a slight little reference to the FNAF series at the beginning of the game. Although it does take elements from the original FNAF games, such as the side doors and the monitor and the security cameras and all that, there is a new feature, which is the window in your office, which you can turn off the lights on and off for, and even shut the window. So that way none of the scary little kitty animatronics and rat creature game menu. How silly. And also added a new gameplay mechanic to the game, such as night vision in the security cameras. Now that's quite spooky indeed. Overall, I remember that this game didn't really scare me quite as much as, say Five Nights at Freddy's. But overall, the gameplay mechanics and the interesting characters made this game pretty enjoyable. There is a lot to do in this game as well, a lot more than other FNAF fan games that I talked about in this video thus far. Just like Five Nights at Freddy's, after completing the 5th night, there's an option for a 6th night where the rat shows up! Oh, what is that thing? Seriously, this rat robot thing scared the ever-living shit out of me, man. It still does to this day, and is honestly the scariest thing in the entire Five Nights at Candy series of games. Just look at this thing! And of course, there is a custom night where you can do the 20 mode, which is the hardest mode in the game. After the success of Five Nights at Candy's 1, there were 2 other games that were made for the series. The second game, which I personally think is the weakest game in the series, it's still good, but doesn't beat the first one. As the game is set in a factory, I don't know why I said it like that, what the hell is wrong with me? And the third game, which I personally think is the best and the most terrifying one in the series, with that rat bastard again. But this time you're a little kid in a bedroom trying to survive the night from the rat bastard. The game has the most amount of lore than the previous games. Some deep and heavy lore that I'd rather not get into as of right now. There's too much to talk about for it. Maybe for a future video, I'll make a whole video talking about this whole game series, but the lore is told through these arcade-style minigames, just like in Five Nights at Freddy's, but still keeps its own originality and uniqueness to it, which I like. But goddamn, there is something creepy about being trapped in your dark-ass bedroom alone in the middle of the night with only a flashlight trying to scare away the rat. Now, I can't end this video off without mentioning Five Nights at Treasure Island. Oh man, what do I even say about this game? This was like one of, if not the first FNAF game that was ever made, which just makes this game so iconic. This was also the first FNAF game to be based off of a creepypasta, which were very popular during this time on the internet. The story is essentially about an abandoned Disney park called Treasure Island. This guy goes to it and investigates. He goes to this room at this park. I think a photo negative Mickey mascot removes his head and says like, "I am God" or something, with "Abandoned by God" written on the wall. I don't know, it's been a long time since I've read the story. I don't know if that's the full story. That's just what I remembered from it. It's just some god-awful creepypasta story written in the early 2010s. What do you think? What do you expect? Anyways, there's a FNAF fan game based off of the story, and it's a game. Kind of a goofy little game. No pun intended. The atmosphere and ambience are quite creepy. The jump scares in the game are quite effective, but that's about it. However, the one thing from this game that traumatized the out of me was this photo negative mini character in this game with the goddamn human teeth, blue face, and the fucking soulless eyes. This scared the shit out of me when I was younger and still gives me the shivers to this day. We have talked about so many interesting, unique, and bizarre FNAF fan games in this video. There are just so many other FNAF fan games out there that if I were to talk about all of them in this video, I'd be making this video for another year. There's so many. Now, if you want to see another video like this, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment down below letting me know what your favorite FNAF fan game is, and I'll make sure to talk about it in the next video. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!